that tall, she wouldn't call her pretty. Since she was a child, she knew where she was going. Long. Never walked away, cause she knew what she was doing, knew what she was doing.
Project update. So if you're new to the series, do check out the previous episodes. But this is the vehicle that we're working on. It's a 1967 Ford F100. It's on air rides. So far, I have repaired the air ride system, painted the chassis, repaired the handbrake back here. I've now mounted the air tank. I built some brackets here, capped them off, so the bracket is mounted down there. Over on this side, I've mounted the air compressor on this side, so those will all be hidden underneath the bed when that's back on. I will be fitting up some wheels this week, hopefully. I'm just waiting on some spaces to arrive. And then interior-wise, it's all kind of stripped out at the moment. New fuel tank gone in, ready for me to start the process of wiring very shortly too. And then under here, a lot of work's gone on under here. So obviously done a thorough check of the engine, new carburetor, new brake master cylinder, new fuel pump. I've got a new alternator, which I'm going to throw on in a minute, and started the makings of the cooling system. So a new fan, new temperature sensor, and I've built some wheel tubs as well. So that's what has happened to date. It's been a long old slog over 4 weeks. This week, what I plan to do is to basically fit everything up in the engine bay where it needs to be. So things like these relays, the relay for the radiator, a horn that I've got, basically get everything in the right place and mount it up, drill the holes, get everything ready. Then what I hope to do when the wheels arrive is drive it outside, give it all a good clean down and degrease. Then we can bring it back in, and I'll probably end up taking loads of bits off again to spruce up under here and get it looking a little bit smarter. And then we can kind of close the door on the engine bay if you like, and my focus will then be on to doing the wiring. So hopefully we'll make some progress this week. So yeah, I'm going to dive in and start getting stuck in under the hood. Right, wiring. So obviously it's a bit of a mess under here at the moment, so I want to make this nice and clean and minimize the wiring. So first thing I did was remove the alternator for 2 reasons. One, we don't know it works, so I want to bench test it. And 2, it didn't seem like it was wired in properly, so I wanted to just investigate the wiring. So there was a voltage regulator that was bolted just here. When I removed the alternator, did some Googling, I was able to identify it as a Delco Remy like 10i or SI or something like that. And it actually has an internal voltage regulator. So this is obsolete. So probably a hangover from when it had the original motor in there, the Ford motor. So we can take that out. I stick that on my parts shelf. And it means that some of this wiring here is obsolete as well. So it means I'm going to need to pull the loom apart, and I can get rid of some of this stuff and clean it up. There was another small relay here, which was plugged in here, that I want to do some investigation on. Potentially a horn relay. So I'm going to do some Googling. There doesn't seem to be any markings on it, so I'll see what I can find. And yeah, a lot of this wiring now can be pulled out and simplified because a lot of that will go on in here. Okay, so as the alternator's now out, I'm going to bench test it. So to do that, what I've done is rigged up this battery to the alternator. So it just grounds to the body of the alternator, and then the positive terminal goes to that output there, which goes to the battery to charge the battery. Now this little terminal here, the lamp is directly linked to the positive, and obviously it's earthing, so the lamp is on. Now what should happen if this works is I stick my impact driver on here, to spin the alternator. And if you remember these kind of idiot lights you have on the dash, they will tell you if the car is charging. They'll go out basically when the alternator is charging the battery. So what should happen, I should spin this and that should go out. Which it is not. So, dead alternator, add it to the pile. Good grief. All right, so that's the water pump pulley back on. I've painted it as well. I think that spruces it up quite a lot. As I said, I've painted the alternator bracket, and now we have a new alternator as well, and I've wired that in. So that, I think, yeah, it's starting to look good there. All fitting nicely. Now what I'm going to do is look to mount up the starter relay, the horn relay, this fuse, shorten down the wires on this, and get them all mounted up nicely on the side of my new wheel tub. So yeah, just continue to tidy it all up, make sense of where everything's going to go. Okay, so that's everything mocked up under the engine bay. So I've mounted the relays onto the side of the tub there, mounted this fuse, shortened that wire so it'll be nice and neat next to the new battery tray, which is over here. I've mounted the new horn, which is just a tiddler, but it'll make a noise. A relay for the fan, the horn relay as well, I should say. And then obviously we've got the fan, and then over here, the washer bottle as well. So I've decided to mount them all up first and drill all the holes and bolt them in, because like I say, what I want to do is drive it outside, give it a wash, bring it back in, and then I can start. I'll take all this stuff off. I'm going to apply seam sealer around all the bits that I've welded to make sure they're nice and secure and dry and protected. And then I'm going to paint the whole lot, and then we can get to tidying this bit up a little bit more as well. But I think I can tidy the wiring up a little bit more, but I think it's already looking a lot nicer and neater under here, which is a good thing. And what I'll be able to do is pull apart the bits of loom that I need to, and then we'll wrap them all up in loom tape so it all looks nice and neat and tidy under here. And I really want to, want the engine to be center stage, because I think it's nicely framed now in there. And already you can see the difference that the new components have made in terms of smartening it up. So we just need to smarten up that little bit there as well. And I think then it will start to look really good under here. Right, wheels and tires. Now, in a dream world, I'd have liked to have spent, a couple of grand or $1,000 on some nice new wheels and tires, but budget's not going to allow that, unfortunately, with the expenditure I've already put into this. So what I have got is these nice chrome Chevy wheels with good tires, which I had already, and I think I quite like the juxtaposition of chrome shiny wheels on a sort of ratty truck, and I like the fact that they're kind of classic looking wheels as well. I think they'll work well on the project. So in order for me to fit these on the truck, I've had to get some adapters. So the rear, as I said, is from a 1997 Ford Thunderbird, and the fitment on the back of those is like, I can't remember exactly now, it's like 108 by 5, something like that. And there was already adapters on that, and I thought they were just spacers to give it more track, but actually when I measured the wheel nuts on the adapters and the wheel nuts on the hubs, they were actually adapters. So what I've had to do is get some different adapters. These are 5x4.75 Chevy fitment, I believe. So I've had to get some adapters for the back, these hub-centric ones, which we can throw on there. And again, that's good because it gives them a bit more track, pushes the wheels out more into the arches. And then likewise on the front, the fitment on the front is a 2001 Ford Mustang fitment. That was the wheels that were on it, and they were straight on the hubs. So I think that's 4.25 by 5. Don't quote me on that. So again, what I've had to do is use adapters to put that up to 4.75 as well. So new adapters on the front and the rear, again, helps a bit because it pushes the track out. And what's good about these wheels, as opposed to the horrible ones that came off, which, as I said, are from a 2001 Mustang, is the offset is a minus offset. So this will again push the wheels out a bit more into the arches, which is what I wanted, because I think the look was too tucked for me. So I'm going to fit all these up and reconnect all of the air lines, wire up the air compressor again, and get everything going so I can actually get it on some rubber for the first time in a few weeks. So that'll be good. Yeah, I'll crack on with that.
You pick your weapon, and
All four wheels are on. First time it's been on four wheels for quite some time, and I think they look really good. I think they suit the truck. Like I say, I think the chrome will work against the patina nicely. I like the dish. Yeah, the fronts, it'll be interesting to see if there's any rubbing at full lock. Again, depending on where the ride height's set, I'm not too bothered. You tend to get that with aired out vehicles anyway, but yeah, I think they are going to do the job. It was a bit tight getting around here, but she's on as well. But yeah, progress. So next, what I'm going to do is basically reconnect all the air ride system. So I need to just rewire it back in. I'm going to shorten some of the cables, and I need to lengthen the cable over to there as well, and get the air ride system up and running. So then what we can do is get it off the jack stands and get it running on the air ride for the first time with these wheels. And I think that's going to be quite an exciting moment. Reinstating the air ride electrics wise, so I have, like I say, I've mounted the air pump here. I've run an earth and make sure it's got a good attachment there. On the underside here is the relay down there, which I've mounted, again made sure it's got a good earth. And as I said, I've got to run the pressure sensor over there, but the current cable is too short. It's a 3-core cable, but coincidentally the cables for the ride height sensors, which I now have, are way too long. So there's a load of coiled up cable around, which looks untidy to me anyway. So it's a good opportunity for me to see how much I've cut out there. Shorten those, then I can use a length of that to lengthen the pressure sender cable. So I'm just, cutting the cables, then I'm going to solder them all back together, heat shrink them, neat and tidy. So yeah, again, whilst I'm trying to get it all up and running, it makes sense to just do these little jobs to make it as neat and tidy under here as possible. So yeah, pretty boring, but necessary. Okay, so that is everything plumbed in. All the air lines are in and trimmed down to a sensible length. All the electrical connectors are connected and trimmed down to a sensible length. As you can see, well, apart from this pipe that's going from the compressor to the tank, which I have left there because I need to run it around and I'll work it out, but they're so easy to trim anyway. So I'll do that a bit later, but for now, that's fine. Yeah, hopefully that means now I can get it off the jack stands, get it on the ground, and let the air ride do its thing. Fingers crossed, eh? So I got everything connected up, fired up the compressor, run it up, and you could hear it filling, and I was trying to lift the suspension because it just bottomed out when I took it off the axle stands, and I could hear a hissing, I could hear a leak. So I spent ages trying to find a leak in one of the pipes, soap and water, going around feeling it with my hands, and I could still hear when it was filling, it was just hissing. And I was honestly on the brink of going and buying a load of new airline, and then I suddenly thought, I wonder if I've done up the water valve on the back of the tank over there. and I hadn't. So it was basically just dumping all the air out the bottom of the tank. So to tighten that up, hit go, pumped it up, and yeah, we are now up in the air and on air ride. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the stance at ride height. I think this is what it will be driving height, and I think that's quite reasonable. Still good ground clearance all rounds, and then I think when it airs out, it is so low. So yeah, really happy with that. What I'm going to do now is have a really good tidy in here because it's an absolute pigsty, and I want to get ready for the next phase really, which will be, like I say, driving it out of here, cleaning it up, getting it back in, and doing the electrics. So yeah, I'm going to crack on with that. Well, I don't want this to end up being a pity party, but what a week I've had so far. My new daily broke down with my family in it last Sunday when I went out for the day, and that's taken me, time to fix. My wife's daily, a Golf that we were going to sell to one of our friends, the turbo went on, and that's now bricked. My dad's Mini has developed an immobilizer fault, and I've tried to fix that, and I don't have the knowledge to do that, unfortunately. And then yesterday, my van was parked outside my house really early in the morning. We heard a thud, and someone had wiped out the wing mirror. So I don't know why I work with cars. I think I should just go and get a job in a supermarket or something. But anyway, I'd got this all set up. Really happy the air ride was working. I was going to start showing that off to you, and most importantly, I was tidy this place up so I could drive it out, clean it, and then I can start on the next phase, which is where the fun stuff starts to happen really. And I just heard, after running it up for a while, getting it a bit warm, I heard a loud hissing, and what had happened is, I'm not sure if you can see that, but the airline to the front driver's bag that I ran, this new one, had made contact with the exhaust, obviously hadn't tied it in properly, and sprung a big old leak. So now I'm back to being stranded. The front wheel is now off again. I've had to order some more airline. It's just been one of them weeks really. So to end this week, I think what I'm going to do is do some of the sort of fun jobs that I've been putting off. I've got some bits to fit to the vehicle, so I think I'm just going to treat myself to doing a bit of that to end the week. I'm really looking forward to this one. And I was going to save it to the end, but because I'm in a bad mood, treating myself. Next job while I'm waiting for an airline, which probably won't be here till next week, but I'm going to seam seal my welds here. So I have some seam sealer. Yeah, you basically splodge it on. I've cut down an old trim tool. I splodge it on, and then you smooth it out with a brush, and that'll protect it nicely and make it look a bit better as well, hopefully. Factory fresh. all seam sealed, ready for paint. So yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to be able to do this week, I think. So waiting for that line, and then first thing, as soon as that arrives, then I'll be able to drive it out, clean it, and do what I wanted to do this week. So a bit frustrating, but we've ticked off some nice things from the list. So that's it. Another week's flown by. Some progress made, not as much as I'd perhaps like, but we just fell down at the final hurdle of driving this thing out. So that is my big objective for next week. And yeah, please do stick around and let's see this thing through to the finish. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you next week.